Hello everyone, and welcome to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom, the show where we dive into the wonders of the human body and explore how tiny molecules can make a massive difference in our health. I'm Ethan Foster, your ever-curious observer of, well, everything.
And I'm Alara Skye, bringing you a good measure of wit with a side of critical thinking. I like to think of myself as the comedic voice of reason around here. Although I'm sure Ethan would use another phrase entirely.
I'd say you're the comedic voice of, hold on to your seat because you never know where Alara's going next. But I mean that in the best possible way. Today's topic is vitamin K, courtesy of Dr. Mercola's analysis on its far-reaching benefits for bone health. Who knew a single vitamin could do so much?
I think the molecule itself did. It was sitting there in a kale leaf thinking, if only they realized how crucial I am.
Maybe the kale leaf was also thinking, if only I tasted like cupcakes. That might give kale a bit more appreciation. But let's not get carried away. Now, from what I've gathered, vitamin K is often overshadowed by its more famous cousins, vitamins C, D, and E. But it turns out, vitamin K might actually be a key contender in bone health.
People usually think of vitamin K in terms of blood clotting. Cut my finger. My clotting factors better be up to snuff. But apparently, it's not just about preventing us from bleeding to death. Vitamin K is also crucial for healthy bones, and deficiency is linked to fractures and osteoporosis. So if your bones could talk, they'd probably say, please give me my K so I can hold myself together.
I imagine them saying that in a rather panicked tone. Now, Dr. Mercola's piece mentions two forms of vitamin K, K1, also known as phylloquinone, and 2, the menaquinones. K1 is found in green leafy vegetables, your kale, spinach, collards, the usual suspects. Meanwhile, K2 comes in subforms called MK4 through MK13, which sounds like a top-secret code for a spy mission.
It does. Agent MK7, your mission is to get that calcium out of arteries and into bones. Because that's essentially what vitamin K2 does, right? It helps direct calcium to where it should be, inside the bone matrix, not on a scenic detour through our arterial walls.
Exactly. The funny thing is, we often think, calcium is good, let's toss it in. But if vitamin K is missing, the body might deposit that calcium in the wrong places, leading to stiff arteries instead of strong bones. Sort of like rearranging your living room furniture, but you put the sofa in the driveway.
That might make for an interesting yard sale, but not so great for your health. Now, the synergy between vitamin K2 and vitamin D is also huge. Vitamin D helps your body absorb calcium, and vitamin K2 says, right this way, friend. I love a good comedic duo, but apparently the real comedic duo here is D and K, ensuring your skeletal system remains strong.
Good comedic duos always involve direction. One sets up the premise, the other points to the punchline. Here, vitamin D sets the stage by increasing calcium absorption, and 2 clinches the deal by guiding that calcium into the bones. Dr. Mercola emphasizes that without this synergy, the calcium might just meander around, causing more harm than good.
Precisely. And apparently, when you have enough vitamin K, it carboxylates osteocalcin, one of those fancy words that basically means we're activating a protein to help cement calcium into your bones. When there's not enough vitamin K, that protein stays undercarboxylated, meaning it can't do its job, and your skeleton ends up less stable. Now, vitamin K deficiency can happen for a couple of reasons. Some folks don't eat enough greens or fermented foods. Others have gut issues or take antibiotics that wipe out their beneficial gut bacteria. And guess what? Those friendly bacteria produce certain subtypes of K2 all on their own. So if you're nuking them with antibiotics, you lose one of your key vitamin suppliers.
Mercola talks about fermented foods like natto, which is, from what I hear, a somewhat slimy delicacy in Japan. Also, fermented veggies can help. And if you're not squeamish, it's a good way to get K2. But a lot of people might say, I think I'll get my K2 from somewhere else, thanks.
Yes, natto is a bit of an acquired taste. If your taste buds faint at the sight of it, you can look into high-quality grass-fed animal products like egg yolks, liver, and certain cheeses. And that's particularly for MK4. I love the names. They're so futuristic. MK4, meet MK7, your partner in crime.
Now, Dr. Mercola also points out that your gut microbiome influences bone health, because those little microbes help produce vitamin K too. So, if your microbial population is compromised, your bones may be compromised too, not to mention the rest of you.
It's a brilliant ecosystem. We feed the microbes with fiber, fermented foods, and all sorts of healthy stuff, and they reciprocate by producing beneficial compounds, including these forms of vitamin K2 that keep our bones and arteries in tip-top shape. It's as if they're little tenants who pay rent in the form of vitamins.
And we don't even have to chase them for a monthly check. Dr. Mercola also highlights that vitamin K is essential for energy metabolism. Apparently, osteocalcin, once activated by vitamin K, helps with insulin sensitivity and glucose metabolism. So if your vitamin K is low, your blood sugar might get a bit out of whack. That's a potential link between osteoporosis and diabetes, which sounds like a double feature nobody wants to attend.
Definitely. There's a notion that low vitamin K leads to low carboxylated osteocalcin, and that in turn might predispose a person to impaired glucose regulation. So you're looking at a scenario where the bones get weaker and blood sugar climbs. It's a combo punch. I'd prefer the synergy of comedic health, not that synergy of problems.
According to the article, one way to know if you're short on vitamin K is if your undercarboxylated osteocalcin levels are high. In other words, your system is screaming, "We don't have enough K to finish the job." A good reminder that these biomarkers can be quite telling before major symptoms appear.
Speaking of telling signals, the article mentions that a deficiency in vitamin K2 might not just affect bones, but also arteries. The wrong kind of calcium buildup can lead to vascular calcification. That's no joke. Bone issues and hardened arteries in one package? Hard pass.
Indeed. But on a lighter note, at least we have solutions. According to Dr. Mercola, one of the best sources of MK4 is egg yolks. He specifically points out how the hens' diets affect their eggs' nutrient composition, especially when you feed them something low in inflammatory oils. These eggs end up with a better nutrient profile.
Because typical commercial feed is high in grains like soy and corn, which are loaded with linoleic acid. That's not ideal for our health or the chickens. Dr. Mercola apparently has a personal egg protocol. 6 yolks a day from hens that eat a special diet low in linoleic acid. And that means more MK4, among other benefits.
I can see him collecting eggs in a basket labeled K2 for me, thanks, while the chickens cluck in approval. Now let's pivot to the action steps. If someone's listening and wants to up their vitamin K, one approach is to eat more leafy greens, because that's your K1. Then maybe some fermented foods like natto, if you can handle it, or grass-fed cheeses for K2.
Don't forget the synergy with vitamin D and magnesium. You want them all in balance. Bones need a team, not just one star player. K2, D3, calcium, magnesium. They're like the Avengers of bone health. And we want them working together to fight off the threats of osteoporosis and arterial plaque.
Possibly with better outfits. Another recommendation is to time your vitamin K2 supplement with a meal that has some fat. Since vitamin K is fat soluble, if you take it with your black coffee or tea, it might not get fully absorbed.
Exactly. If you're going to supplement, do it at your fattiest meal of the day. Let that MK7 or MK4 ride in alongside healthy fats, so it can be absorbed and usher calcium to its rightful place.
And, as you mentioned, supporting the gut microbiome is a big piece of the puzzle. Probiotic and prebiotic foods create an environment where good bacteria thrive, and those bacteria, in turn, produce more K2. That means your bones are effectively being maintained by an internal K2 factory.
That's probably the best workforce you can employ, and you don't have to pay them in currency, just fiber. Also, on top of that, Dr. Mercola reminds us that exercise helps with bone building. Weight-bearing exercise is like telling your bones, "We need you strong." Then vitamin K does the finishing touches on a cellular level.
Think of exercise as the blueprint. It signals your bones to reinforce themselves. Then vitamin K, along with other nutrients, adds the actual building materials. Without that blueprint, you won't have as big a bone-building impetus.
Precisely. It's one reason to get off the couch and do some weight-bearing activity. Even short walks or resistance band workouts can make a difference over time. Let's circle back to the big takeaway from Dr. Mercola's perspective. Vitamin K isn't just a blood clotting factor. It's an underappreciated hero for bone integrity, artery health, and maybe even healthy glucose metabolism.
Correct. Deficiency in vitamin K can lead to brittle bones, increased risk of fractures, and that dreaded arterial calcification. But ensuring we get enough from diet and, if needed, supplements can help keep bones dense and arteries flexible.
While also protecting your sweet tooth from turning into a diabetes risk, because insulin sensitivity is apparently part of K's repertoire as well.
Exactly. Now, in case anyone's worried that we're throwing out too many K lingo words, let's recap. K1 is from leafy greens. K2 comes in subforms like MK4, MK7, all produced by bacteria or found in animal products. Together with vitamin D, they help direct calcium properly, supporting bones and arterial health. The gut microbiome helps produce K2, so keep your digestive system happy. If all goes well, your bones stay robust, your arteries stay clear, and your metabolism runs like a well-oiled machine.
That's pretty much the summary of Dr. Mercola's article. It's like a synergy trifecta: nutrition, microbiome, and healthy bones. If we give our body what it needs, it reciprocates with stronger bones and better metabolism.
And let's be honest, stronger bones may not be as flashy as flat abs or glowing skin, but it's a lot more fundamental in the long run. Nobody wants to discover an osteoporosis diagnosis when stepping off a curb the wrong way.
Or when you pick up your groceries and go, "Ouch, my spine." The older we get, the more we appreciate how essential bone health is. I say appreciate it before you're forced to do so.
Indeed. All right, Alara, if you had to name one favorite vitamin K-rich food, what would it be?
I'm torn between kale and a good sharp cheese. One's a green leafy powerhouse. The other is a delicious fermented treat. If they made cheese kale flavored, would that be a great combo or a gastronomic disaster?
I'm leaning toward gastronomic disaster, but I'm all for experimentation. As for me, I'm partial to those bright green salads topped with an extra egg yolk. If you toss in a bit of that grass-fed cheese, you've got a serious K2 trifecta going on.
That's a winning combination. And if your gut microbiome is well taken care of, you'll get an internal supply of K2 too. I love that it's not all about external sources. Our bodies can be self-sufficient if we treat them right.
Absolutely. So, folks, remember that vitamin K might not be the headliner at your local supplement aisle, but it's definitely a star behind the scenes. Keeping our internal systems well orchestrated is often about paying attention to these silent heroes.
Couldn't have said it better myself. This has been a deep dive into a vitamin that's typically overshadowed, yet it's so critical for bone health and more. One day, vitamin K might just get the spotlight it deserves.
I'll root for that day. Until then, we'll keep shining our humble little flashlight on these important topics. And that brings us to the end of this installment of Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Remember, your bones are counting on you, and the rest of your body is cheering them on. I'm Alara Sky, signing off with a kale smoothie in one hand and a cheese wedge in the other. Figuratively, of course.
And I'm Ethan Foster. We appreciate you joining us on Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom.
Stay curious, stay skeptical, and above all, stay well. See you next time on Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe now and click the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.